Today, I'm breaking down my top 6 fades ahead of the 2026 fantasy football season with a home league ADP inside the top 6 rounds, guys. All right, I'm not trying to take the easy way out here. These guys are going to be oftentimes very highly ranked players because, again, they're being drafted inside the top 70 in the first place. So, very real chance we look even more stupid than usual in 6 short months. But for now, I am not drafting these guys. And accordingly, let's get after it. Up first is new Saints running back Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne, it's the new Twitter X thing. We just have to say both these last names every single time we talk about this dude for the rest of the time. But regardless, guys, he's going about RB18 or RB19, depending on if you're playing over at Sleeper, ESPN, and Yahoo. Pretty much a consensus round 4 pick, regardless of where you're at. And I'm not buying him there. I think this could be a far closer to a 50-50 split than many people are giving it credit for, because I think a lot of people just assumed Alvin Kamara wouldn't be playing football for the Saints in the year 2026, okay? Certainly didn't put his best foot forward last year. They had to do the contract, restructure. Maybe something goes wrong in training camp and they decide to trade the guy, but from every bit of info we have at this moment in time, it sure does look like Kamara is going to be out there, and it looks like he could be out there a lot. Not to put too much stock in every single training camp report we get, guys, but he is actively getting first-team reps alongside Travis Etienne, and why wouldn't he? The dude's been a freaking legend for his organization, and the fact he did restructure his contract, the fact that we've heard them talk about how the best years of Kamara's career came in more of a boomer-zoom split with Mark Ingram. I think everyone is thinking, because of the money afforded to Travis Etienne, it's going to be a 70-30 split. But in reality, it could be a lot closer to 50-50, which is going to be really problematic for the artist known as Travis Etienne if it's not going to be a great offense. I see the breakout potential for the Saints, okay? Year 2, Kellen Moore and Tyler Shuck. You added Travis Etienne. You got Jordan Tyson. Maybe they do take their game to the next level. I did a video recently, though, talking about who Vegas, all right? Not me, Vegas. The people in the desert who have far more money riding on getting this stuff right than any of us out there. What their preseason implied scoring ranks say about every team. The Saints came in at 23rd, okay? That's a bottom 10 scoring offense. Out of those bottom 10 scoring offenses, yes, I do think the Saints have the best chance of rising up, but it's not a given, okay? So it could be a bad offense. What's that split going to look like? I don't know about you. I'm expecting Kamara to get a lot of the pass down work. Not that Etienne isn't a good receiver, okay? But consider this in Jacksonville last season. Travis Etienne had 6 receiving touchdowns on 36 catches, guys. Previously, he had 1 on 132 career catches, okay? I have gone back. I have watched the film. I have attempted to get better. A lot of these touchdowns really did seem to be of the well-schemed variety, so kudos to Liam Cohen for that. And kudos to Travis Etienne for, again, making the most of those opportunities. He did have to catch the ball and get in the end zone in the first place, but Alvin Kamara is only 1 year removed from scoring more PPR points than Travis Etienne ever has, guys. RB5 in 2024 for Kamara. So I know last year wasn't great and Father Time is undefeated. And maybe last year really was just a sign that he is dust. But, getting to play for 2.5 months with the Spencer Rattler-led Saints. We didn't even get to see Kamara take advantage of the Jets and the Panthers and the Titans and some of these just, again, really bad defenses that we saw Tyler Shuck and company do much, much better things about, down the stretch of the season. So I think Kamara has always been a much better player here, which does go back over time. I get it, and we are playing for 2026. But if you take these dudes' top 10 career seasons and PPR points per game, the first 7 all go to Mr. Alvin Kamara. So for me, Travis Etienne, honestly, gives me some of these dead zone RB vibes, okay? We're not expecting, at least I'm not expecting, a ton of pass down work. The offense realistically could not be very good, and we're not getting many scoring opportunities. Is Travis Etienne that amazing of a talent? Look at their yards per carry these past 2 seasons. They're both at 4.0, 4.1, guys. We've seen Etienne break down as the season goes on. Not that that's, just him. Javonte Williams, it happened last year. Jonathan Taylor happened last year in terms of their yards per carry falling off. But I really struggle to think that Etienne is some sort of special talent capable of overcoming what looks like a not-so-special situation. So Travis Etienne going, again, inside the top 50 picks. Not for me. I would much rather be looking at some of these wide receivers we love. Ladd McConkey, T. Higgins, Jalen Waddle. All these guys are going well after Travis Etienne in ESPN leagues, and it's a very similar story in the other home leagues. So for me, not going to be drafting Travis Etienne at his current price this season. Next up, I got Buccaneers running back Bucky Irving, who, don't look now, guys, is going as early as RB17 as as low as RB21. Again, in our 3 home league sleeper, Yahoo and ESPN with our early ADP here. So looking at Bucky, 2024, hell of a drug. This dude was one of the most fun players to watch with the football in his hands. Some of the, reversing field runs, just absolutely fantastic stuff. And was a major piece for a lot of championship fantasy teams. So I don't want to take that away from him. 2025 was rough. I know the injuries were there. All right. And they were not good. Honestly, the shoulder issue was something that persisted well into this offseason for Mr. Bucky Irving. RJ Harvey too. Don't look now. Just saying. Honestly, RJ Harvey is another fade. I'm not even going to get into him because he's a little bit cheaper in these streets and everything. But the big issue for me, getting back on track here for Bucky Irving, I'm looking at the role and I just see it between the 20s running back and an offense that is probably going to be okay. Not exactly a juggernaut out here. Between the 20s role is a death knell for these fantasy running backs, okay? And Bucky's not the only one that I think could be experiencing it. There's an argument for Jadarian Price in Seattle. There's an argument for Breece Hall in Jacksonville. In Bucky's case, though, I think he's going to be the starting running back for Tampa Bay. That's fine. That's dandy. He's probably leading the way in touches. Pass downs. Reigning, defending, Steelers team MVP Kenneth Gainwell is coming on the football field. Short yardage. That's Sean Tucker's job, guys. It's a new offensive coordinator. Maybe Zach Robinson changes things, but do we want to have the undersized running back coming off a really bad shoulder injury really taking the pounding at the goal line? Last year, it was 9-0 in favor of Sean Tucker versus Bucky Irving on carries inside the 5-yard line. That's a big gap to be overcoming. So is Bucky reasonable enough? Because the argument would be like, okay, well, he's going RB21 in some of these spots. You can get him maybe as early as, as late as the early portions of round 5. We're still talking about a top 50, a top 55 pick for someone who is not getting the 2 single most valuable assets that we want out of our running backs in fantasy football land, guys. So Buccaneers, where I'm wrong is they got a badass offensive line. Baker Mayfield plays like he did in 2024 in the first 6 weeks of 2025. And the team ends up being really good. So 15 touches per game for Bucky Irving. A healthier Bucky Irving winds up going a long way. But again, similar story as Travis Etienne here. I just look at these wide receivers in this part of the draft, and those are the guys I want to be attacking. The Unks, Terry McLaurin, Mike Evans, Devontae Adams. I mentioned McConkey, Higgins, Waddle. All these guys are so much more alluring for me. And this is a big reason too, guys, why I love going with more of a hero or superhero RB build, getting 1 or 2 studs early. So I don't have to worry about the Bucky Irvings of the world. I don't have to worry about Travis Etienne. I can be taking, in my opinion, the best assets at the point in the draft, and that is these awesome wide receivers. So again, I like Christian Watson. Even guys like Carnell Tate, Roma Dunze, like if we are in drafts where Bucky's falling a little bit more so into that station. If Bucky gets closer to guys like Jalen Warren, Rico Dowdle, kind of that ambiguous, muddled RB3 tier, okay, because that's what I think he is in this new version of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers backfield. Really, really struggle to get there from more of a projection standpoint. And I just don't like betting on guys who need to be among the league's best players at the position to make up for a lack of a workload as a top 5 round pick. So again, maybe Bucky proves me wrong. Maybe he's just awesome. Seems like a really steep bet for me. In the first 5 rounds, I am out on Bucky Irving in 2026. Let's move on to a wide receiver that really, really can make me look stupid here, guys. But I am fading Rashee Rice ahead of the 2026 fantasy football season. He's going as early as wide receiver 8, as low as wide receiver 13 in our home league cohort. End of round 2, maybe mid round 3. That's what we have to use for a guy who is one single more mistake, knucklehead move, whatever you want to call it, away from probably being off the Chiefs and arguably being out of the league, guys. That's what we're dealing with here. Again, he's out of jail. He's on the practice field, okay? The knee is right. It's hilarious to me still that I have to add those caveats when talking about Rashee Rice. Like, this did not happen that long ago. While he's out there, it's going to be tough to not view him as a pretty darn good fantasy asset. That's what he's been his entire career. But in addition to some of the potential for a future suspension, for a future injury flare-up. Because let's face it, it's not like he's the only guy in the league with those possibilities. And I'm not even trying to come to you guys as, I'm such a better person than you. I'm so holy. I'm not drafting, a bad apple like Rashee Rice. I drafted Deshaun Watson after the whole, I drafted him after that before we knew he was completely cooked in Cleveland. Okay. So I'm not against drafting objectively not so great human beings at a discount in fantasy land, but we're not getting that. End of round 2, mid round 3. And then let's look at the player, guys. This is a fun exercise I did the other day. We can do it together, okay? Let's scroll down the wide receivers until we find one that we think the Chiefs would not trade Rashee Rice for. Like straight up, all right? We're using a little bit of like a real life talent ranking here, okay? So I'll look over at Underdog Fantasy. I like their wide receiver list. We got Rashee Rice there, Devontae Smith, Chris Olave, Zay Flowers, T. Higgins, Emeka Ibuka, Lab McConkey, Malik Neighbors, Tedero McMillan, Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle. Any of those guys you think the Chiefs wouldn't trade Rashee Rice for in a heartbeat? I sure think they would. Terry McLaurin, Luther Burden, Mike Evans, Devontae Adams. Maybe you can have the age thing. I don't know. I still think they'd probably rather have Adams this year. Jameson Williams, DJ Moore, Christian Watson, Carnell Tate, Roma Dunze, BTJ, Jordan Tyson, Parker Washington, Marvin Harrison Jr. If you guys have stopped, I haven't. Mekhi Lemon, Quentin Johnston. That might be it. He's going to need a new contract soon. It's Quentin Johnston. I think he can still have a nice season with the Chargers. Probably Quentin Johnston is where I'm drawing the line. Metcalf, Pierce, Sutton, Reed, Godwin, Addison, Downs, Xavier Worthy. Like, that's brutal, okay? And I really don't think it's that far-fetched. We have heard Mahomes every single offseason talking about getting back in the deep ball like it's the Green Goblin mask calling out for him. Rice has caught one pass in his career, thrown 30-plus yards downfield. Don't you think they would have been tapping more into that if the man could go out there and do it? He is good with the football in his hands. There's a reason why he's put up wide receiver 1 numbers on a fantasy per game basis. But come on, Khalil Shakur is really good with the football in his hands. We don't see the Bills build their entire freaking passing game around Khalil Shakur. I literally feel like that's what we're dealing with here. Fancy Khalil Shakur if the Bills just decide to build their entire passing game around him. And guess what? That wouldn't be a good idea. The Bills are a really high-scoring offense. The Chiefs have done this, and they haven't been a really high-scoring offense. 15th, and 21st, I think, last year in terms of scoring, points per game as an offense as a whole. So maybe Eric Bieniemy comes in. He looks at Worthy. He looks at Thornton. He says, you know what? We got to keep going with what we're doing. Travis Kelce is going to be 37 here soon. Let's keep feeding Rashee Rice the football. But is it going to be that easy still? Kenneth Walker's here. They want to run the football. We've talked about that downfield passing game, the lack thereof. Our defense is really going to continue to stay in this too high shell with Xavier Worthy and Tyquan Thornton being the guys they're supposed to be scared of. I don't know, because the more and more, not to try to say that I'm just the world's best X's and O's guys here, but I'm thinking if you're a defense and you're trying to plan for the Kansas City Chiefs, Mahomes, maybe a little bit hobbled, maybe not running around as much. You look at Kenneth Walker run the football, and look at Rashee Rice getting all these screens, all this low A-dot stuff. Guess what? You crowd the line of scrimmage. You bring a safety down. You pay more attention to that, and maybe that opens up the rest of the offense. Maybe it just makes life really freaking hard for Rashee Rice and Kenneth Walker, man. So I just feel like there are so many ways that this can go wrong off the field, health-wise, him just not being that great of an NFL receiver-wise, and the Chiefs saying, do we really want to continue to build our offense around a guy who we don't trust, who we don't exactly have plans of extending, and we have to use a round 2 or round 3 pick on it. So give me Devontae Smith, give me Nico Collins, give me any of these fellow stud wide receivers that don't involve me taking a chance on Rashee Rice. Accordingly, I am drafting Xavier Worthy a little bit later. There was also this one note from Andy Reid this offseason talking about Worthy, where he basically said, coming off that dislocated shoulder early in the year, they didn't put the same routes back on his plate. And I am pretty freaking sure, guys, by that he means those lower A-dot routes that would seep into Rashee Rice's workload in the first place. That's what Worthy was doing down the stretch of their initial playoff run and then that huge Super Bowl blowout loss to the Eagles. Yes, that was without Rashee Rice in the lineup. I get it. I still think he'll get most of those, but Kenneth Walker now inside the 10. Maybe that takes away from some of the gadgety, touchdowns. Rashee Rice literally has Dallas Goedert numbers in terms of his touchdowns coming so close to the goal line. But again, it's Rashee Rice, and he puts up wide receiver 1 numbers a lot of times in fantasy land, so we go ahead and, don't completely worry about it. But 4.7 yard average target depth since 2023. Dead last. He leads all wide receivers percentage of targets that were screens. He is such a limited player that we were having to draft so early in an offense that just hasn't even been good recently. So many ways that can go wrong. Give me any of those wide receivers going around that wide receiver 1 borderline. Give me Javonte Williams. Give me anyone other than Rashee Rice at the end of round 2 into round 3. Another wide receiver I'm fading in drafts this year. A bit cheaper, but still. DJ Moore, guys, new Bills wide receiver 1, and this one could go wrong really badly. I get that. He's around wide receiver 25, 27, ESPN Sleeper Yahoo. That's, again, end of round 5 into round 6. This is the cheapest guy, him and Bucky Irving, who we already discussed, that I'm talking about here. It could just be as simple as it's Josh Allen's number 1 wide receiver. We saw a cool catch in training camp. Maybe I should change my entire opinion on life over that. Here is every single Bills wide receiver move since 2024. They have traded for DJ Moore. They traded for Amari Cooper. They drafted Keon Coleman, Caden Prather, future Hall of Famer Skylar Bell. They signed in free agency. I did not make up any of these names, I swear to God. Josh Palmer, Curtis Samuel, Brandon Cooks, Gabe Davis, Elijah Moore, Matt Collins, Mecole Hardman, Tyrell Shavers, Quintez Cephas, Chase Claypool, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, KJ Hamler, Jalen Virgil, Devin Tompkins. It's like a list that people would just make fun of a really bad, annoying, nerdy fantasy guy for still believing. You know, it's like your nightmare blunt rotation that's on your dynasty bench still. The Bills, a real life football team, have been signing these guys to their team. And now we're supposed to believe, no, all those other guys were rough. Matt Collins, maybe the best one, honestly. Kind of sad. Probably shouldn't have let him go. DJ Moore, that's where they're right. I don't buy it, man. Why is he such a better fit for this system than he was with Ben freaking Johnson? Someone who we as a football society unanimously agree is one of the smartest and brightest minds that we have on the offensive side of the football. If Ben Johnson couldn't figure it out, if Ben Johnson really didn't want to figure it out, I know they got Burden, they got Rome, they got Loveland. They could use a wide receiver 3, though. I really do think if Ben Johnson thought that DJ Moore was still a great football player, they wouldn't have traded him. Caleb Williams, we got the completion percentage out there, okay? But we watched a lot of Bears games last year. We all did. I didn't exactly see one freaking gigantic misfire of another Caleb DJ Moore, okay? He missed them plenty of times, sure. It wasn't Kyle Allen to Curtis Samuel back in 2019 or whatever. I'm still not over that. I'm still pissed about that. You hurt my guy so bad, Kyle Allen. I know DJ Moore is reuniting with Joe Brady. He had some good years with Joe Brady back in Carolina, okay? That fact is not lost on me. DJ Moore is this generation's Andre Johnson sort of guy. Terry McLaurin as well. You look at the career quarterback list, it's just one horrible guy after another. So guess what? Terry McLaurin got Jaden Daniels, and all of a sudden he put his best foot forward, even when he was a little bit longer in the tooth. Maybe year 9, DJ Moore is going to get Josh Allen. It's going to be that easy. But, you know, I don't think it's as clean as saying, oh, DJ Moore is just going to be the new Stephon Diggs here. Honestly, comparing year 9 DJ Moore to prime Stephon Diggs, a little bit insulted him a little bit, you know? DJ Moore was perceived as not a great fit in Ben Johnson's system because of his lack of timing, because he would give up on routes. And I just don't know how that is suddenly a great fit in Buffalo. The best part of Caleb Williams' game is extending plays. He had the longest time to throw. It's avoiding sacks. It's giving his guys a chance to make plays out of structure. And we weren't really getting that. We did a couple times. But we're talking about a guy who has been useless in fantasy for 2 years. We're talking about a guy whose efficiency numbers, all the underlying stuff that we try to look at to say how good is someone, they've been going downhill for years. Maybe Josh Allen brings it up, but we talked about the receivers that have joined Buffalo, and the ones that have been there, other than Khalil Shakur, who's been okay in fantasy land. Shout out Khalil Shakur, Yak Beast. Like second time I think we talked about him in this video. Other than Khalil Shakur, everyone's been useless, dude. Do we really think Buffalo and their everyone eats mantra, which has been great for them, the most consistent high-scoring offense alongside the Lions of the last half decade, the Buffalo Bills. They've been running the ball a lot, very well. Why are they going to change all this for DJ Moore? I just don't see it, guys. Again, of every dude on here, he's the cheapest. If he leaks in the round 7, you know, literally around that kind of 6-7 turn, I can see it. It's a situation where the guys he's going around also have their fair share of questions. Over on ESPN, Rome Odunze, DeAndre Swift, David Montgomery, Jadarian Price, Bashal Tutin, Luther Burden. Luther Burden's going that freaking late on ESPN. That is crazy. I'm sorry, I'm drafting all those guys over DJ Moore. I, again, could very well see this one going wrong. The numbers have been down for DJ Moore. It's a system that has not gotten the most out of their wide receivers in fantasy land, and we've seen repeatedly make bad investments at wide receiver, and Ben freaking Johnson couldn't figure it out. I am not drafting DJ Moore as current cost in 2026. And we're going to end things with a little bit of a 2-4 here. They're on the same team, and it's pretty much the same reason why I'm fading both of them. But Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, I can't do it, guys. Garrett is going as high as wide receiver 12, low as wide receiver 18. He's pretty much a consensus round 3-4 pick. Breece Hall, pretty much a consensus round 3 pick. RB 15 to 17, again, on across ESPN, Sleeper, and Yahoo. I hate this offense, and I don't want to use a top 40, a top 45 pick on an offense that very realistically could be starting a really bad rookie down the stretch of the season, and also very realistically could be the single worst offense in the NFL. I would personally not rank the Jets 32nd in terms of offenses going into this season, okay? Vegas does, though. Don't blame me. Don't yell at me. Yell at the people in the desert. Vegas has the Cardinals ranked 31st and the Jets ranked 32nd. The Browns are 30th. I think the Dolphins are 29. I probably have the Dolphins 32nd. I'd move the Jets up a little bit. Make your own list, guys. I guarantee you will have the Jets closer to 32 than 16. The case for them. They got some playmakers. Garrett, you drafted Kenyon Sadiq, you drafted Omar Cooper. I still believe in A.D. Mitchell. I get it. I'm there with you guys. We got Breece Hall. Breece Hall's a good running back. Garrett Wilson's a great wide receiver. The case for Garrett over the years has been, all right, yes, the offense will suck, but who else are they going to throw the football to? He should be breezing past, 150 targets with something close to good health. We don't have that anymore. And by the way, even when he did have that, we still weren't exactly getting amazing returns with Garrett Wilson. I know the per game numbers last year were fine in week 6, the 6 or 7 game sample we had, but watch some of those numbers, guys. Watch that Tampa Bay game and just him eating 8-yard freaking curls down multiple touchdowns in the second half with Tyrod Taylor feeding him the football. We've had some incredible catches from Garrett over the years. I think he's a great player. I would love to see him team up with someone like Arch Manning or Dante Moore, or, whoever is going to be the quarterback that winds up leading the Jets in 2027 and beyond. There's more target competition than ever for Garrett, and we're still drafting him as a top 4-round pick. Too damn high for me. Pretty much the same thing with Breece Hall. RB 15 to 17, that seems fair enough. That's about where I have him ranked, okay? I just don't want to draft him there. I don't want to draft any running back that could be on one of the single worst offenses in the league. You can throw Jeremiah Love in this too, guys. I don't really want to draft him either. I've gotten him in rookie dynasty drafts, which maybe I shouldn't brag about because that tells you guys, how a couple of the dynasty squads have been doing. But America loves a comeback. Omar Cooper, Kenyon Sadiq, you want to throw a late round dart at them? Fine. I don't want to draft guys that could be in the single worst offense in the NFL inside the top 4 rounds. Here's the last point. The Frank Reich, Geno Smith ticket. That's who we're trusting to figure this all out. And I know Geno didn't get much help with the Raiders last year. That was a disaster class. Let's say you just want to throw away the fact that he led the NFL in interceptions and sacks. It was going downhill in Seattle too. There's a reason why they ended up going with Sam Darnold over Geno Smith. I like to fancy myself a ball knower. I understand 2022, 2023, Geno Smith in particular, did a lot of good things. It was also a very volatile, high-wire act that he was running there. Go watch the highlights for yourself. Look at the numbers yourself. Like PFF has a big-time throw rate metric, which is just what it sounds like. These tight window, sweet kind of plays and everything. And they're a lot of fun. Geno Smith lived on those. Dimes in the double coverage to Tyler Lockett. DK Metcalf making some big plays down the field. It makes sense that a 36-year-old aging quarterback who's losing a step, who's losing a little bit of arm strength, who's maybe seeing the field a tick slower, all of a sudden has a pretty big fall off. 36 years old. It was a fun career renaissance for a minute, but let's face it, he's a journeyman. And if we, again, had to rank every single starting quarterback in the NFL, Geno Smith's coming in very low. Vegas doesn't expect the Jets to be any good as a team. I don't. I'm sure you don't. So why should we even expect Geno? Even if you want to say that Geno's better than I think, is he going to be out there in December? I don't think he will be. I think it's going to be Cade Klubnik. And that sucks. We could be going into the fantasy playoffs if we're lucky enough to be there with our Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson bags with a freaking Vegas team total of 12.5 points with Cade Klubnik under center. With Frank Reich calling the plays. If Frank Reich is even there, this will be potentially Frank Reich's 3rd consecutive NFL season where he gets fired midseason. All right? He did some good things with the Eagles back in the day. He had a revolving door at quarterback with the Colts. But guys, in 2022, we got fired for Jeff Saturday midseason on a really bad Colts team. Old Matt Ryan, give him a break if you want. 2023, he goes ahead and leads the Panthers. He again gets fired midseason. Maybe it was rookie year Bryce Young. Okay. 2024, takes it off. Didn't screw anything up. There we go. 2025, interim Stanford head coach Frank Reich led the 122nd ranked scoring offense out of 136 Division I programs. That's the guy who we are expecting to team up with Geno Smith and make life happen for Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall. I don't want that. I talked about Trey McBride and Jeremiah Love. I don't want that either. I just don't want to be attaching myself to these horrific offenses with such an early round pick. The volume for Breece Hall could be there. If I had to rank these dudes, like Garrett's the one I'm really having a bigger time struggling with. The bull case for Breece Hall, if you still want to go on that route, because I've looked it up, there's been 14 top 12 running backs and PPR points per game who were on bottom 10 scoring offenses over the last decade. All right. So that's not great. That's 1.4 per season. But the ones who have managed to, again, still survive in fantasy land on a bad offense kind of did what Breece did back in 2023. They caught a ton of passes. And we do know that as a facet of his game where he's good at. But I'm not even as convinced that Breece Hall has this 80 catch upside the same way he has in past years because of the ways I'm expecting Kenyon Sadiq and Omar Cooper to be used, which is, tethered to the line of scrimmage, doing a lot of screens and things of that nature because their biggest, club in their bag is their yak ability. So, again, so many better picks for me. If they were mid-round picks, round 5, round 6 or so, great. Okay, then I think it's more appropriately, baked into their cost. Right now, I don't see it all. Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, not for me in 2026. With all that said, though, everyone, don't hate the player, hate the ADP. All right? Any of these guys, if we see them throughout August, everyone wises up a little bit. They start hitting them as well. If they drop around, we'll completely reassess things. Again, I'm going off where the ADP is standing here as I'm recording this on July 29th. So things can and will change between now and week 1. Again, I'm highlighting these guys as fades. I don't overly expect my opinion to be changing radically just because of a few training camp highlights or, beat reporters saying this or that. But again, just something to keep in mind out here in these streets. But let me know in the comments if you think any of these takes are particularly egregious. Again, was trying to take a stand with some of these guys who are going a little bit higher up. I just think it's lame when people are like, oh yeah, I'm out on Daniel Jones this year. Or, I just don't see it for Tyler Algier. Like, yeah, no freaking shit, man. Look how low they're going in drafts in the first place. So anyway, appreciate you guys tuning in as well. Football's back, baby. It's in the air, ready to get excited and get going into August and just continue providing content because I freaking love it. And if I go more than a day without talking about football or writing about football, I become a pain in the ass for Mrs. Hartitz to deal with, and none of us want that. So anyway, guys, that's going to do it for me. If you liked the video, please like the video. Hit that subscribe button. Always helps out as well. And hey, if you want all my rankings and written content that can be behind a paywall from time to time, go ahead and use that code EN20. Head on over to RotoWire and check out all of our tools and goodness for yourself. But with all that said, I'm Ian Hartitz. I'm out. And until next time, have a great day, everybody.